Шановний пане президент, шановні колеги,
Mr.
друзі,
President,
партнери.
friends, colleagues, partners, the principal conclusion after the 200 days of this bloody war. Ukraine has its strategic victory. That does not necessarily mean that we will defeat the enemy in a week or in a month, but we defended our freedom, our democracy, our country. We won with our strategic vector leading to Europe. They failed in their archaic Soviet-like model of existence with their imperial ambitions, with their way of life, and the imperial ambitions will never come true. We'll make sure of that our road is paved to the west, to the European integration. We've used 6 months with the admission, and we have the candidacy. We would like to thank our partners for that. Thank you for the opportunity, and of course we have this great ambition by the end of this year to comply with all the 7 conditionalities for this candidacy or admission. We have already covered more than 65% of the association agreement, all the conditionalities there. We have the ambition to conclude this exercise by the end of this year, to start the negotiations and proceed with a high pace. And we witness other countries preceding us in that 5 to 7 years. Our ambitious goal is to make it within 2 years. This is our great idea, our big idea, to become members of the EU family and become a European country in the European Union. We are a European country. We are in the European continent. We have the European democratic cultural values, values of the civilization we belong to, as we believe. And before I proceed, I would like to thank our armed forces, our soldiers, all our units, which make it possible for us to be here and talk about our future of quality, our European future. Now, speaking of economics, our economy at the wartime consists of several parts. Undoubtedly, there is this economic and financial sustainability as a foundation, and we have to be sustainable, we have to be resilient. We are doing it with our team. It is part and parcel of victory. We have to provide for the army, have to provide for the social protection of our people. And of course, we are spending almost 1 trillion of hryvnias this year. We plan the same amount next year, also to support our armed forces. There is social protection in terms of pensions, 7 million of IDPs, the mine clearance, the mining. We now have some expenditures which were unheard of before the war, up to 40% of the budget. That's the contribution from our partners. We are very thankful for the military equipment, sustainment, our microeconomic stability, and it is very important for us having this macroeconomic sustainability, self-reliance with the budget by 1/3, and with another third, that's the inner reserve. That is the emission, but a very moderate one, not to enter the spiral of hyperinflation, and about 40% of the contribution for our military budget coming from the partners. This is critically important. Now, of course, we started our discussion with the partners as to how we will live next year, because I started this sentence. It's present-day economy, it's reconstruction, it's war activities, and the future. The 3 stages, so today, the recovery, and the final upgrade and economy of the future. It is very important that presently we are at the stage of recovery for survival. Yesterday, our president was telling you from the same podium that that was going to be the winter of our discontent. By us, he meant us and our European partners. We have the energy resources stored, saved up for this occasion, and the military threats. We can expect missile impact at any facility, depriving of some part of our energy system. So we need diversified approach to the mobile equipment, the energy resources in storages, so that we can live through this winter, perhaps with difficulties, but in a stable fashion, like the rest of the Europe, by the way. So financially, we have some political commitments from our European partners, political prospects coming from the United States. We are working with the IMF. And I would like to say here that the United States and Europe are leading. From the beginning of this week, we were talking to Chancellor Scholz and Ursula von der Leyen on the prospects for conclusion of this year and next year, also financial prospects for that year. We understand the deficit of the budget. We understand the cuts that we have to make and other activities for frugality and austerity. 1 trillion hryvnias every month. This is a monthly budget for the military purposes. We have this annual budget, but every month we form the deficit. We bridge the gap and live through the month every time. These are the conditions of the military or war economy. This is the wartime, the time of war. So with the leadership coming from the United States and Europe, we can see that IMF are quite passive. We have maintained our relations, and we have enjoyed in 2014-2015 a great attitude of IMF. Then they took the lead. We received $17 billion of support. Now our cooperation with the IMF is very passive, but we are making efforts. We applied to them. We provided them with all the necessary documents. It is very important to renew our cooperation because IMF is an important pillar for our future financial sustainment and development with our partners' help. Of course, it is very important to appreciate the scope of reforms along our way to the EU. Speaking of switching from the military needs of present day to our future development, there are several frameworks. This is digitalization. This is shrinking of the state-run sector in the economy, development of human capital. And those scopes provide us with the necessary vision. We all appreciate the digitalization present in our life across the board. Investment in human capital will help us develop and create high-quality generations, future generations, to develop a modern economy. We'll discuss that in the future. I am very optimistic on behalf of Ukraine, and this is corporatization, privatization, downsizing of the state-run sector. And regardless of the war, we continue along those lines, and we will be implementing those plans, improving the institutional design for all the areas of our economy and relations between the public administration and the economy. Security is key. Undoubtedly, we appreciate that we have to provide for the infrastructure with bomb shelters and anti-aircraft assets. We have to conduct the reform of our armed forces. We took have taken very little time to switch to NATO standards, but security dimension is one of the most important. It comes before digitalization, comes before the reform of our public sector. So bomb shelters for institutions, for educational institutions and public establishments. This is the potential, the security infrastructure, a reform of our defense industry, or defense industries, perhaps they are developing very actively. These are the things that we will rely upon in the future. The priority projects for our economy, for the government, we have scores of them, the key ones: agricultural policy, support of our agribusiness, defense industries, and development of energy, especially the green energy, digitalization, development of IT infrastructure, support of SMEs. 579 program we started, grant support, and we are going to develop that further, because the economy after this war will change in its structure, and many enterprises are just ruined in the east of Ukraine with 7 million IDPs, 5 million of refugees in Europe. We have to create a great number of jobs. This is only possible with the SMEs taking the lead, and we are trying to create all the preconditions for that. Of course, by Ukrainians support each other, that's the point when we can help our business to survive. This is not perhaps a long-term program, but this is our philosophy, to always support small and medium-sized enterprises. For the future, I would like to come back to President's words. Yesterday, Ukraine is an asset for the EU. I would like to support that in the energy sector, security sector, human capital, and other realms. We indeed are an asset for Europe. We are an important equal partner, and after the war, we will present ourselves as a great basis for development of business in our territories. These are important points that we have to understand and treat them optimistically. Our big plan of recovery will provide us with great opportunities for development. I have no doubt that very soon we will catch up. Of course, even here at this venue, we can discuss that we started that. Ukraine has set the parameters. It was done back in Lugano as to how we will implement the big plan, with what deadlines. These are important challenges in their own right, and we, of course, will accomplish that with the sanction policy, confiscation of the funds of the Russian Federation as a basis for our future recovery and reconstruction. We have to develop that and discuss that at all the venues with all the international civilized partners. Let me stop there. I would like to reiterate saying that I'm optimistic. Strategically, we have won already. The final victory is still far away. Perhaps it's a long way to go, but we are optimistic. Ukraine has established itself as a nation, as a state, as a country, and we will great potential for development in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much indeed for those rousing words. The first question I'd like to ask you, Prime Minister, is we've had some remarkable news in the last 24, 48 hours. I think, like many people, I've been glued to Twitter, looking at what's been happening, first in Kupiansk and then elsewhere. Do you regard this as a turning point in the war?
Вчора президент України сказав,
Yesterday, the president of Ukraine said that
розпочали
we started our
24 лютого.
counteroffensive on the 24th of February, when the war started.
Події, які відбуваються
Immediately,
вчора,
the
сьогодні, які відбуваються
events within last 24, 48 hours, perhaps a week,
закономірний результат
that
протистояння
is
України цій
just an expected result
агресії
in this
Росії.
bloody
Я хочу
aggression, this terrorist attack on the part of Russia. I would like to emphasize the morale of our soldiers, which are advancing now. This is possible because of our partners' support, because morale is a decisive factor, but one needs weapons, high-quality military equipment. The HIMARS, now a household name, but we need other types of equipment, other items. Now we can physically liberate our territories, deoccupy, take them back. And this is the beginning, a very promising one. The good news is trailing fast, but this news should not make us complacent. We have to realize the price. The price is very high. It's the highest because people are losing their lives. But this demonstrates at least our will and our way to win in this war. And this is very important for our partners also, not just for the Ukrainian society, but it is a great message for our partners as well.
The IMF does not usually provide funds to a country at war. Do you have any hope that you will get support from the IMF? And if it's not forthcoming, what will you do?
Я вже сьогодні торкався цієї
I have already
працюємо практично
tackled this issue. We're working on an everyday basis with the IMF team. IMF presented a lot of leadership in 2014-2015. They were very operational in their response to this invasion back in March, when we received their expedient assistance. But now we have certain
підтримці від МВФ для воюючих сподіваємося і працюємо з нашими партнерами для того, щоб
procrastination, but we have to speed up our cooperation and response of the IMF, which is created to support countries in dire straits like we find ourselves in. And we are very constructive in our work with the United States, with the European Commission, the EU. We had very interesting, constructive talks with the German Chancellor, Mr. Scholz, and all the partners are supporting us, but the IMF have always been the uniting factor. It is very important to have IMF on board with their leadership and partnership made available.
You went to Brussels on Friday and you said that you would like 3 billion of aid for immediate cold weather protection and another 17 billion for infrastructure. Did you get that promised to you? And are you confident that the European Union and the Commission will provide actual grants, not just loans? Because at the moment, the majority of the help is coming from America.
Ми отримали фактично
We received the political support from the United States and also the administration of President Biden, and the Congress will follow for 11.7 billion US dollars. And that support includes the $3.4 billion for the immediate rapid recovery for survival. That means immediate support to rescue our country, and for the damaged infrastructural assets like schools, hospitals, residential buildings, grids, networks, and bridges that should be reconstructed by this winter for the people to survive. Literally, I'm using this literally. And the United States, without any hesitation, supported us, so that their reaction was very prompt. I hope that the House of Representatives will follow very soon with their support. We have other needs, energy resources, and some support from the United States is coming. It's 4.5 billion US dollars by the end of this year to provide for the deficit in our budget. We have it this year with the EU. We also have with the European Commission. We discuss those matters. We understand their contribution, and by the end of this month, we expect 5 billion of the macro financial support, and this is a loan. And another part of this 8 billion tranche will be done in May, following May, as grant support. That's the grant part of the amount I was referring to. And for reconstruction, for speedy recovery, we need about 17 billion hryvnias. This is all verified with the World Bank. It is all supported by the reporting systems, the parameters, the coordinates. We are fully transparent. We report every single dollar spent there. This is critically important for our mutual trust, but the loss is at 340 billion US dollars. This is confirmed by the World Bank. The amount verified and necessary for recovery is about 105 billion US dollars, but this amount will change because we understand that the war is going on and the devastation is going on, and we will need more. Obviously, it's important to establish how we will do that, not just using the funds coming from our partners or our budget. Source number one, as we expect, should be confiscated assets belonging to Russia. Originally, we suggest that we consider some kind of an international bilateral agreement to create a new system of security in the world when the aggressor understands that the aggressor pays for the unprovoked aggression. Always, and this is very important for Ukraine to get enough funds for recovery and for the future, and for any aggression to understand that they will have to pay dearly for the aggressions. The second source is budget. The third is public-private partnership or private-public partnerships. The PPPs, we are talking about this as prospects for business.
We have about 1 minute left. I'd just like to quickly ask you one question, which you mentioned was hyperinflation. How concerned are you about the risk of hyperinflation? Because very often wars result in hyperinflation.
We can see that the situation, this post-pandemic in the world, we forgot about the pandemic because we have other things to take care of in our kitchen. But this situation caused inflation in many countries. In many countries, inflation is unusually high, from 7 to 9 to up to 20%. Ukraine is in the same corridor, regardless of the war. And together with the National Bank of Ukraine, we are following the process of the moderate emission. Together with the IMF and our international partners, we do not get gravitated into the spiral of inflation. So we have to maintain macroeconomic stability and prevent Ukraine from entering this hyperinflation spiral, as I was telling you. And we have to be very careful, and with the assistance, little help from our friends, we'll be able to do that, I'm sure.
Thank you very much indeed. I believe that we are now out of time, so to say thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
And best
Thank
of
you so
luck.
much.
I believe so, yes. Let me check. Do you have some more time for more questions? Do we have more time? No. Okay. No, I'm told not. Okay. I follow orders.
Thank you so much. Дякую вам
Thank you very much
дуже.
indeed.
Перемоги і миру нам. Дякую.